welcome to another episode of Going All In, Get the Edge You Need to Succeed. I'm Dr. Erin McKinley, and today we have another awesome spotlight session with Christina Shepard and Ashley Bremer from the Arizona State University VA Track Dietetic Internship Program based in Phoenix, Arizona. All right, welcome to the podcast, Christina and Ashley. To get us started for this episode, I would love for each of you to give us a quick introduction to you, your journey to RD, and how you landed in your current positions.
Hi, we're glad to be here. Thanks for inviting us, Erin. My name is Christina Shepard. I go by Tina. Arizona State University Dietetic Internship combined with a master's degree. We are located in Phoenix, Arizona. With rotations throughout lots of Arizona, but mostly in the Phoenix metropolitan area. We're the largest dietetic internship in the state with 26 interns per year with fall and spring match. Today, we're going to talk primarily about our fall match program. I am the dietetic internship director and I direct the MS degree in nutritional science. I've been at ASU a long time I've been the internship director since 2002. I graduated, I'm a native Arizonan. There's not that many native Arizonans. Everybody comes from somewhere else. And so I was born here and I went to school, my bachelor's degree in nutritional science at the University of Arizona in Tucson, and then master's at Arizona State, became a dietitian through an old pathway they used to have that was a graduate degree with sort of a distance internship option. And then I worked, my first experience dietetic job was in the Midwest in Michigan, and I was an outpatient dietitian, and I lived 10 years in the Midwest and then returned to Arizona and joined the faculty of Arizona State in 1999. I, again, have run the internship since 2002. Expanding the number of slots that we have from 6 when I started to now 26. I do lots of other things, but one of the main things I do is we have a garden club that I run, and I'm a certified master gardener with the county extension office. I think that's enough about me. Go ahead, Ashley.
Sure. Hi, Ashley Bremer here. I am the Chief of Clinical Nutrition at the Phoenix VA Medical Center, and I coordinate our internship at that location. I did my undergraduate degree at Arizona State University. I actually came from Wisconsin. As Tina said, not many people live here their whole lives. And then I went back to Wisconsin to do my internship and did our clinical rotation at the VA in Milwaukee and fell in love with the VA model of care. Was lucky enough to get a position back here at the Phoenix VA. Have worked here since my internship in different positions. I was an outpatient clinic dietitian. I ran our bariatric surgery program, our internship program, and these last few years I've been in a leadership combined role with that internship. And I will say that I did go back and do the online master's at ASU for dietitians already in the field. And that was in 2017. So I'm a double, and I'm excited to be here today to really promote our programs and hopefully encourage some of you to consider applications.
And for those of you who don't know, Arizona State University's mascot is the Sun Devils, and that's why she said she's a double devil. We have double and triple devils around our faculty. So I'll go on and talk about our program. We have 2 dietetic internship tracks. I'm going to primarily today talk about number 2. I do want students to know when they go on our website, and there's a link there to our website. On that website at the start is a video of myself and the assistant internship director, Dr. Sandra Mile-Kreiser, talking about our different programs. Ashley is on that as well. And we have interviews with a variety of students and preceptors. So students can go there to find out even more. Right now, you will see that we have 3 tracks listed on our website. This MS degree track number 1 is a spring match and a research emphasis. It's a master's degree in nutritional science, much like our track number 2, but not with the VA Medical Center. And again, that's a spring match. We also have a non-degree track that's only open to ASU DPD graduates. However, this class that's starting in the fall is the last class we will have for that. So that non-degree track will be closing actually those slots will then move into the master's degree track number 1. So we'll still have 26 interns, just not that non-degree track. That has always been a little confusing for students who go on our website because that one only accepts ASU grads. Now we will not have any track that only accepts ASU grads. So these 2 tracks are open, as they always have been, to DPD graduates from all over the United States and territories. So this master's degree track, the one we get the majority of applicants to in the spring match, does have options in sports nutrition and maternal and child health. The sports nutrition option has been quite popular lately. The internship combined with it is not an emphasis in sports nutrition, only the master's degree. In this program, it's 2 years. The first year is your master's coursework, and you do a research thesis project with our research tenure track faculty at ASU. And the second year is the internship. We have eliminated the GRE exam requirement. Again, this is the spring match program. Today, we're going to be talking about the fall match program, which is what we call our ASU VA track. This came into existence. ASU's programs, is the oldest in Arizona and one of the oldest in the whole United States to be combined with a required master's degree. Now, of course, we know that the master's degree requirement is becoming the case for everyone starting in 2024. Our program has required a master's degree since the 90s. That's how long this program has been around. So we're proud of that we've always had a rigorous research emphasis. Both the ASU VA track and that other master's track do have a research emphasis. You will see when you read more about our program online. The VA track is a newer program in that it started in 2014, and it came about because the Phoenix VA Medical Center is one of the largest in the United States, and they did not have their own dietetic internship. So the director, he is a graduate of our program, master's internship, and he came to me and said, how about we partner and start a dietetic internship? So these students do their master's degree with ASU. I am their internship director and manage the administrative aspect of things and the admissions, which Ashley helps with a lot. And they do their rotations with the VA. The VA does not charge anything for the internship. The only cost is the master's tuition. Ashley, as their clinical nutrition manager, she plans the rotations at the Phoenix location and works with me to make sure they're all fulfilling their competencies, and VA dietitians select who matches or who gets in with during the application process. So this program is a fall match. We take 6 interns a year. 4 go to the Phoenix location under Ashley's supervision, and 2 go to Prescott, Arizona. And for those of you who are not familiar with Arizona, Prescott is a smaller town. I guess it's a small town. It's not tiny though. Maybe the fourth or 5th biggest town in Arizona, but it is north of Phoenix, a couple hours north in the mountains, right in the center of Phoenix. It's a mile high, like Denver is, in the mountains with pine trees, and it's very, very beautiful and a very popular place for people in Phoenix to go to in the summer because it's so much cooler. And when we talk about rotations, I'll explain a little bit more, but the interns in Prescott stay here all summer, and they usually fall in love with Prescott if they've never been here before. So we've had, students whose hometown is Phoenix, and we've had students whose hometown we had from all over the country who have chosen the Prescott location. So we'll explain how we decide who gets in which location later. This program is combined again with the same master's degree in nutritional science. It's an in-person degree. However, there are many online options. So for the most part, the 2 students in Prescott are primarily taking online classes, although they can take some in person during their final semester, one of their semesters. And the students in Phoenix, are also choosing, they also usually choose to take more than half their classes online, but there's a choice. It doesn't have to be. They can choose in person, and the classes often meet once a week in the evening or online. The deadline for all fall match programs using DICUS, the DICUS system, is September 25th. Our program tends to start in January. This year we started in February for their orientation, although their coursework begins in January when the spring semester at ASU starts. This program is different than the other model, in that our spring match program, that you do only your master's coursework the first year and then the internship full-time the second year. In this program, you're going part-time for a year and a half. So it's 3 semesters and a summer. So students would match in September, start the program the following January, take courses that January spring semester, take coursework during the summer session, more coursework the following fall semester, and their final coursework, their final spring semester, which comes out to a year and a half. But they are taking part-time graduate course load and part-time internship rotations. Ashley, could you explain a little bit more about the schedule that the students follow, at least at the Phoenix location?
Sure. We have our interns rotating about 24 hours a week, depending on the rotation. That might be 4 6-hour days or 3 8-hour days to get the best exposure with their preceptors. And then we do have a few internships we coordinate with Tina's help in the community that might be a 40-hour week, or enrichment may be longer than that. So most interns are on our site 24 hours a week throughout their internship.
And the same at the Prescott location. The Prescott interns, I'm a little bit more involved in planning their rotation. They go Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays for 3 8-hour days a week. So sometimes we have students who actually commute to Prescott, where they come up on a Monday evening or early Tuesday morning, do their rotations Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and drive back Thursday. One of my interns who's up here right now is married, and she goes back to her family for long weekends, and she's only away from home Tuesday night and Wednesday night. But it's up to the intern. The other interns have stayed up here full time. So the VA up here, it's called the Northern VA Medical Center, Northern Arizona VA Medical Center. We have the interns rent rooms from some of the employees there, or they can find their own apartment. We don't encourage people to try and commute on a daily basis because it's just too long, 2 hours each way. Although they could if they wanted to, especially if they lived a little bit closer to Prescott somewhere. And again, the GRE exam is no longer required for this program. So we'll talk a little bit more about the location options. Ashley, I'll let you start and explain a little bit more about what the VA Medical Center is all about and its strengths and specialties.
Sure. So the VA in general, if you're not familiar, has lots of internships across the country, but our particular location in Phoenix is considered what's called a 1A complexity. So it's the highest level of medical complexity within the VA Medical Center system. We have 9 community clinics that are all around the valley that provide more primary care. We do special surgery programs, oncology, endocrinology, women's health programs, and a really strong emphasis in mental health. So we're really pleased to be able to offer a wide breadth of experience. Just a little bit of difference around Prescott is they have a much less acute care, but much more long-term mental health care with substance abuse or like more of a nursing home. We call those community living centers. So it's just a little bit of a difference. And then Tina helps coordinate that clinical care in a hospital setting up in Prescott to make sure that interns get equal opportunity. And so we are really excited when we get interns who are really connected to that VA mission, or they may have, some sort of reason why the veteran population resonates with them, because they get to really come and see how this population is so deserving of that care. Tina, did you want to add anything to that?
And I'll say this again when we talk about program highlights near the end, but we have many of the preceptors, many of the registered dietitians at both locations are graduates of our program. They like to hire graduates of this program. I can tell you the Northern VA Medical Center, the director is a graduate of the Phoenix VA Medical Center, and they just hired one of the graduates during the internship. They hired her right when she said she was ready to start, before she passed the RD exam, and right when she was finished with her rotations, she was able to start working. So they do like to hire from within, and there are, we'll talk about this later again, but there are many perks to working for the VA medical system. It's again, I'll hold off on some of that till the end when we talk about why you should apply here. Again, the Prescott location, I would say it's a smaller, more rural location. It's absolutely beautiful. There is less acute care, so we do have interns do rotations with another local hospital for more acute care experience. Applicants have the option of either location, and they would indicate that in their application, which they want to be considered for, or perhaps both. And I have a slide about that later too. Anything more you want to say, Ashley, about she hires lots of graduates as well. You just hired quite a few that just finished the program in May, didn't you?
Yeah, so I always find like a true test of whether or not interns had a good experience is whether they apply to your open positions. And 100% of the last 2 classes of interns applied to our open positions, and all of our vacancies were offered to interns, both recent and more longer ago that graduated. So we really consider them family, and we're excited when we have an opportunity to have them stick around.
And here's some photos to share with everybody. Here's a photo of the VA Phoenix Medical Center. It's called the Carl Hayden VA Healthcare System, Phoenix VA Healthcare System. There's a lot of words. I can't remember them all, but it is in the heart of Phoenix. It would be considered the central Metro Phoenix, not quite downtown. It's an area called Uptown, I guess. It's north of the main downtown area, but it's right in the heart of Phoenix. Central Avenue, which is the heart of Phoenix, is just near that. It is a very large facility, and again, we send 4 interns there who start their rotations usually in February. We're going to talk about the rotation schedule coming up and what people could plan for. And then here's some pictures of the Prescott VA Medical Center. It's in a historic region of Prescott called Fort Whipple. That's from the time before Arizona was even a state. It used to be a fort for the cavalry or something, and it still has historic portions, but it's this beautiful all-white complex set kind of on Highway 89. If you were to take 89 due north, you would end up in the Grand Canyon. So it's it's a beautiful area right in the heart of beautiful Prescott. Again, Prescott is considered a summer vacation resort sort of area for Phoenicians, I would say, although a lot of people live up here full time, but it's a very popular place. Like I am up here in the summer, luckily this summer, trying to stay cool, because Phoenix, as many people may know, it can be quite hot. And here's, let's see, you'll see me and Ashley here, and then as you're facing the screen to my left, that's Dr. Sandra Mile-Kreiser, who is the Assistant Internship Director. This is our class of interns from 2019 that graduated in 2020. The 2 on the left are up at the Northern Arizona VA, and the other 4 were at the Phoenix VA. And I believe every single one of them, of the Phoenix group, works for the VA now. So Jared, the tallest gentleman on the right, he was a Phoenix VA intern, and now he works at the Prescott VA, running the CLC nutrition program. The guy next to him works at the Portland, Oregon VA, doesn't he, Ashley? I know he was trying to get in there.
Yes, Portland VA, and then the other 2 ladies accepted positions in Phoenix. One is helping with diabetes, and one actually recently moved on to go back to school at ASU.
Yes. And the one on the very far left is now on the faculty at the University of Arizona teaching medical nutrition therapy classes after working she was from Tucson, after working at a hospital in Tucson. And Jade is, I believe, recently engaged and planning a wedding and is in between positions right now. I think she's the only one who doesn't work at the VA. And then this is our class that just graduated in May. Well, I'll just say that 4 of them went to the Phoenix location and 2 to the Northern Arizona location. The one in the middle, the tallest one with glasses on, is the intern who was hired by the Northern Arizona VA during her internship. They liked her so much. So she is currently my preceptor now for the incoming class for their healthy teaching kitchen. She just got that position, and she does some acute care as well. And Ashley will explain the healthy teaching kitchen rotation later. And then I know you guys hired some of these other people, didn't you, Ashley, that just graduated?
We're in the process of all of that. So we have a couple openings, and hopefully we'll get to hire some more of our intern graduates.
Okay, we'll talk a little bit more in detail about the rotations that you get at the VA. One of the best things about the VA and doing your internship with any VA is that I've been around a long time as an internship director. I work with the majority of all the hospitals in the Phoenix area, huge health systems, including the Mayo Clinic, who only takes my interns. And I can tell you without a doubt that the VA is the most cutting edge in nutrition of any nutrition program that I know of, certainly in the Phoenix and Arizona area. Cutting edge because, you know, VA dietitians pretty much invented the nutrition care process and nutrition diagnosis process and the nutrition focused physical assessment. So VA dietitians traditionally have been on the cutting edge and the leading proponents of nutrition and medical nutrition therapy and management and leadership. So I have never had an intern since 2014, since this program started, who did not love their time with the VA and end up wanting to work there. So the only exception would be occasionally we get interns who decide they want to work in pediatrics. And obviously that is not an area of emphasis in a VA medical center. There's no veteran children. But they can do rotations like that, specialty rotations that they can plan as part of this program if they want to. So I'm going to let, I'll mention orientation a bit, and then I'm going to let Ashley take over and explain some of the highlights of these rotations. Your orientation is on campus at ASU, or because of COVID, we had it virtually last year. But we try to prepare you. We do a joint orientation about the policies and procedures of the internships, but also policies and procedures of their master's courses. And I serve as the students' director of their master's program. So I'm their advisor, so to speak. And I help them plan their coursework, and I help them try and succeed with their master's degree. Ashley plans their rotations for Phoenix, and I work together with the Northern Arizona VA to plan their rotations. But besides the orientation at Arizona State University, they also have an extensive orientation to prepare them on site at the hospitals, at the medical centers they go to. So Ashley, I'll let you take it from here and explain some of the things they do.
Sure. So we have probably the longest 3 rotations are starting with food service management. We do have the luxury of having our interns really get management experience. So you may come in with some food service experience, but we really don't need you to learn how to wash dishes, or you may jump into tray line like a manager would, but we're lucky enough you get to develop a recipe and pilot out a menu item. You might be budgeting for equipment. You might be presenting education material to nurses or other departments we partner with. You'll be training food service staff. And every time when we do our exit interviews with our interns, they're always really surprised at how much they like that rotation. They don't think that's what they're going to like, but they're pleasantly surprised. So it usually gets great feedback. We do a fairly lengthy rotation in acute care. We do have a surgical ICU, a medical ICU, med-surg floors, cardiac floors, oncology. And inpatient mental health is also a big component of the VA, and we have a substance abuse program that's a 30-day or longer. So you'll get experience in lots of different rotations. As I mentioned before, we call our nursing home our community living center. And so that's also an experience during that acute care rotation. Interns are able to round with their teams, present nutrition support team round cases, get more exposure to nutrition support, tube feedings, TPNs while they're in those rotations with those preceptors. And then I think one thing that sets the VA apart is our robust outpatient opportunities, and that we are not a for-profit organization. And so we spend a lot of clinical effort and time into prevention and well-being. And so we have full-time dietitians in every clinic location in our specialty areas. And so we're able to work directly with the doctors, the pharmacists, social workers to really provide robust care across the lifespan. And we start working with our veterans upon discharge from active duty through the end of life. We even have home-based primary care dietitians that interns will rotate with, where you go into our veterans' homes and provide care to them where they live, if that's the safest option. And then I do think it's fun to mention we have a lot of specialty options, in that we have dietitians that work in our pain clinic and run anti-inflammatory classes. We've got a healthy teaching kitchens program that Tina mentioned, which is really the skill build of learning how to cook. There's a lot of Facebook videos. We've had lots of interns do fun projects in healthy teaching kitchens. We have accreditation in oncology and survivorship and support for the families that help our veterans through oncology. And then we also have a newer rolling out diabetes program, renal, cardiology. So you get a lot of variety. We also have a very interesting ALS clinic. And so spinal cord and ALS for the veteran population might be unique, that you might not see necessarily at every rotation. And then Tina's really great, and she helps us develop those community rotations that she mentioned, like you wouldn't find within a VA. So you get experience, usually like a one-day symposium with the Children's Hospital. We partner with Department of Health and Department of Education, depending on other competencies that we're not meeting. She makes sure that interns are getting everything they need, whether it's in VA or in community. And then the enrichment, Tina, did you want to talk a little bit more about?
Sure. All of our interns, in every track, they get a 2-week enrichment. Sometimes it's 3 weeks, sometimes it's 2. We've had to shorten it to 2 because of COVID numbers of hours decreasing in internships. So 2 weeks of enrichment. And that means the intern gets to choose where they go with my approval, and that it needs to meet certain standards. They should be rotating, obviously, with a dietitian ideally, or a healthcare professional, but they get to line up the rotation for 2 weeks. They could go 2 different places for 1 week each, or just 2 weeks. Some choose to go back to the VA. I believe this year we had them have 2 weeks, and 1 week was back in another VA rotation that they either didn't get they wanted more of, or something they might be interested in working in the future. And they could go outside the VA for other rotations. And the types of enrichment that these interns do varies from, we've had people go out of the country or out of state to work on projects. Had someone go to Australia once for their enrichment because their sister was getting married there, and they lined up an enrichment with the Australian Department of Health, which was very interesting. We've had students go to Children's Hospital because they did not get as much pediatrics as they maybe decided they wanted. We've had people do sports nutrition rotations. We've had people go to private practices, school districts for that type of food service. You name it. There are a lot of enrichment opportunities. And we usually start getting the interns to be planning where they want to go in the fall, before their enrichment it's the very end of their rotations, usually near the end of the spring semester. I'll talk about the coursework for the master's degree. As a reminder, our interns are taking a part-time, doing classes part-time as a part-time graduate student. At the same time, they're doing part-time 24 hours a week internship rotations. Their first semester would be the spring semester, and Arizona State is on a semester system. Our semester starts about the middle of January and ends at the end of April, with usually commencement and final exams being the first week of May. The spring semester, they're only taking 7 credits. They're taking you'll see Nutrition 580 listed every semester. That's the 1 credit they need to be enrolled in with me for the internship. That's their practicum credit. How they turn in assignments in that course. They take, quizzes to prepare them during orientation, things like that. 537, the first semester, is an advanced nutrition support class, and 598 is a new program we have. We ran it this past spring. It was a big success and we're going to continue it. It is with Dr. Sandra Mile-Kreiser, the Assistant Internship Director, who is our MNT expert and teaches many of those classes for us at ASU. And it's a class called MNT Simulation and Practice. She works with the interns. They do simulation in the nursing sim lab, and they do lots of virtual case studies and MNT case studies during the second half of the spring semester. So some of these classes are just half a semester long, and some are a full semester long. In the summer, they usually just take 4 credits, although I've had people take 7 and then have a lighter fall semester. It's kind of up to them because there's a lot of electives involved. And then the fall semester, this semester, some are taking 7 credits, some 10, and their final semester, they're usually taking 10 for a total of 31 credits, 30 for the master's. It turns out to be 31 with all the internship credits that are required. Now here's some more details about the course options we've got. The required courses are some I've already mentioned: a research methods in nutrition class that prepares them to go on and do their applied project research. Advanced nutrition support, that MNT simulation and practice, and a graduate statistics class. But then they have a wide variety of elective courses, and I've only listed some of them here. Popular ones have been advanced sports nutrition, an eating disorder treatment class, graduate level, chronic inflammation, complementary nutrition, nutrigenomics, pediatric, geriatric. There's an obesity prevention that's more of a policy class, and a leadership in food nutrition services. And then there's often, we have in our College of Health Solutions at our Arizona State, we have an exercise science department, and many of our students choose to take some electives with them, or even other areas like we have kinesiology, we have health coaching, we have health science, even some nursing classes I've had people take. But the most popular electives have been nutrition and the exercise classes. And so that they can pick and choose what they want for the most part with the few required classes. So they can really specialize in particular areas if interested. Ashley and I will both talk about this with you and give some examples. Instead of a thesis, this VA track of our program has an applied project as their culminating experience, 6 credits of applied project that they actually take as a class. But they are working on, instead of my other track, they're doing actual research with ASU tenure track research faculty. In this case, they're doing an applied project, which may or may not be actual research project, with registered dietitians and other staff at the VA, sometimes doctors, pharmacists, for example. This applied project is in every way like a thesis, in that they're writing the same type of thesis document. They're doing a defense and all those things, but they're doing a project that is considered to be of benefit to the VA and particularly to veterans. And that's one of the reasons the VA partnered with ASU, is that by providing this internship experience, our interns would do projects that were of benefit to the VA. And it's been a big success, and that many of the projects they have done have made quite a big difference and have been programs that are now regular programs. Usually they're doing quality improvement projects, like to evaluate and assess the quality of an existing program, or perhaps a chart review to review a quality things. But we've had several develop educational curriculum and test new courses for the veterans. But it can be a research project, and they have especially in Phoenix, a large research department, and there are research projects ongoing all the time that the interns could get involved in. And so instead of launching their own research project and having to go through IRB, they get involved with a research project that's already approved and ongoing. For example, one that's been ongoing for quite a while, and you can say more about it, Ashley, is assessing the benefits of a plant strong or a plant-focused menus on veterans. And we've had quite a few interns get involved in that. Ashley, can you explain maybe some of the other projects? Because interns tend to really enjoy working on these.
Sure. So right now we do have 8 different research projects already approved. So we usually, when interns join us, we kind of present a whole slew of research studies that are available for them to join. And then we have lots of topics and areas of interest that staff would love to focus on with you. So we really try to tailor it to the intern. Since this is something you'll be working on for more than a year of your time, we like to make sure it's something really interesting and of value to you, something you might want to learn more about and something that you're passionate about. So some of the programs that we've now come up and that were developed with interns but now are in place is we have programs that are related to pre-diabetes. We have cooking with ease classes that are for with no food at all. That really helped us through the pandemic to be able to do skill building in people's homes without having to purchase any particular foods. We've had protocols developed for like EROS pre-surgery, for probiotic use in the hospital setting. Lots of what our interns have done, we've ended up putting into practice. So it's been really helpful. And even the programs they develop that we determine aren't feasible, it really saved clinical time and resources from going down a path that maybe we were making assumptions about. So we've really valued those projects over the years.
So it really is very much like a thesis in that they're working, their chair of their committee is either myself or Dr. Mile Kreiser. So they're working with ASU faculty as their overall supervisor, mainly supervising the written portion, the literature review, that statistic type portion of the project, but they're working hands-on with usually 1 or 2 dietitians or other staff at each of the VA locations to actually plan and implement the project. So they really get involved with the VA. In Northern Arizona, I've been very involved with the projects going on there and some interesting ones of the past. We had an intern who had read some interesting articles about the use of brightly colored plates and cups for Alzheimer's patients, in particular, or patients with dementia, trying research that showed that in other Alzheimer's patients, having non-white, brightly colored serviceware caused the patients to consume more because not eating enough is a problem during Alzheimer's. So he happened to, with the food service director up here in Prescott, find a whole bunch of bright red Fiestaware plates that were in storage. And he did a project comparing the intake of the Alzheimer's patients on their normal off-white plates and cups versus these bright red ones. And they found a statistically improved intake of food with the bright red. And as far as last I heard, they're still using the brightly colored dishes because of his research. So it can make a big difference. We have an intern right now who is working with actually Jared Ashley, who got hired from the Phoenix as a Phoenix intern in their long-term care facility, the CLC. And they're going to start a protocol of testing for vitamin D deficiency and assessing vitamin D status, and then seeing if supplementation makes a difference. So there's really, really interesting things that they can get involved with.
I would just say that no matter what, you'll have an expert, subject matter expert on staff to help guide you. Tina and Sandy are great at helping. I'm here to help, and so are the staff at Prescott. So you wouldn't have to figure it out on your own. We definitely have a process to get you through, but we hope you pick something that's really interesting to you so that it feels fun to figure it out.
Let's talk about the nitty-gritty admissions process, and I'll just briefly go through this. We use the DICUS online system, and the VA track would be the fall match, so the deadline is midnight Chicago time. Arizona does not participate in daylight savings time, which throws everybody who comes here from out of state, but no one wants extra sunlight in Arizona in the summer. So we choose not to go through daylight savings time. So we are, in September, we are 2 hours earlier than LSU, than Chicago and Central Time. In the rest of the year, we're 1 hour earlier. We do require a greater than 3.0 GPA, but as long as either your total cumulative GPA or your DPD is above a 3.0, we can consider you. And I will round up if you're 2.999. After you are matched in the program, then we have you complete the online master's application. So if you're matched with us, then you're guaranteed admission into the master's degree. Just like most internships, we require at least 3 letters of recommendation. Obviously, DPD verification or declaration of intent if you're graduating in December. Your personal statement is pretty straightforward, like the DICAS standard one, with a couple of differences. Again, significant responsibilities you've held, your goals. Why in particular are you interested in doing this ASU VA program? What are your strengths, your personal research interests, and any previous research experience you might have, which is not a requirement, but if you have some of that experience, it's helpful. And then we really need you to indicate your preference of internship location. Either the Phoenix, you can be considered for Phoenix only, for Prescott only, or either location. For an out-of-state student, I would recommend you say either. Certainly, if you're interested in Prescott, if you're interested in either location, it does increase your odds because you're not limiting yourself to just one of the locations. The cost of a program, again, you're paying for primarily tuition at ASU, and I can tell you that I do not know for sure what tuition will be next year. They've just announced it. So based on this past year, 2020, 2021, for the last few years, because of COVID, primarily tuition has stayed the same at ASU, but it may go up. So I can't guarantee these numbers won't slightly increase. But if you're an Arizona resident, you'll see this is what the tuition would be for the 3 semesters and a summer session. And then a non-resident would pay almost $20,000 more. With most universities, you have obviously non-residents tend to pay more. And then there's a few other charges that you can plan on down below. We require obviously the DICAS application fee and the D&D digital to apply. The graduate admissions fee is $70. We do require membership in the academy as a student and liability insurance. But a lot of the other costs that our other interns pay for immunizations and TB tests and background checks are covered by the VA. The VA provides them at their facility. So a lot of those types of costs are mitigated because the VA covers that.
All right. Thank you, Christina and Ashley, for that awesome overview. Very thorough. Love it. I'm going to jump right into the 5 questions that I ask all programs that come on the podcast. And these questions were put together with the help of my students to make sure I was asking the questions that students really want the answers to. So the first question is, what is one thing in particular that you just really love to see when you're reading an applicant's personal statement?
I want to see that it's evident that a student has actually looked at our website and has familiarized themselves at least somewhat with our program. I know a lot of students like to write very generic personal statements, and I am fine with that, but at least I would say at least a few sentences, if not a paragraph, should be specific to, why ASU, why our VA track, what sets that apart, and maybe even mentioning some things so it makes it evident that they did some research and looked at the website. I also really do not like to see lots of typos and grammatical errors, and that's an easy thing to fix, yet I see it so often. My advice would be have someone else read your personal statement. You also read it to yourself out loud, and you'll find a lot of mistakes that way.
So I will say, in regards to our track, having some reference to why working with the veteran population means something to you. And again, as Tina mentioned, sometimes the letter will talk about wanting to be working with pediatrics and sports nutrition, but they're applying to the VA where they'll get neither. So just that disconnect, if you can make it make sense as to why you chose our program, then we can make it make sense when we haven't met you yet, why you'd be a good fit.
Quite a few veterans apply to this program, or people whose spouse is a veteran. We have a couple like that right now, or their parents were veterans. So no connection like that is required. But gosh, if you have any kind of connection like that, please let us know in your personal statement.
All right. Well, my second question has to do with resumes. So true or false, an applicant's resume should be 1 page and 1 page only. Either way, why?
False. I do not care. As long as it makes sense to be more than 1 page. If there's just, 2 lines on the second page, that doesn't make sense. But I've had, one of my current interns had a 4-page long resume. She happened to be a veteran and listed lots of her veteran experience and honors. I have no problem as long as what is on the pages makes sense and wasn't just padding. I could care less if it's one or more.
I agree. We have seen the gamut. So again, as long as it's supporting skills that you've built, experience that is meaningful towards this application, I don't worry about that too much. I have seen some where there's so much formatting and maybe their name and the address are so big that there's not much content. So I would definitely say be efficient with your resume. Nobody wants to read a book, but I definitely don't think there's rules about how long it is.
All right, well, next is my favorite question to ask directors, and it's what is one or maybe more things that an applicant may do, and this could be at any point in the application process, that they might do that might raise some red flags or make you think maybe this applicant isn't the best fit for our program?
Well, I had it happen once that a student, the personal statement, everything she wrote was about our rival school, the University of Arizona in Tucson. She got the schools mixed up, and they don't even have a dietetic internship. They didn't at the time. They just started a future education model, and I went to U of A, so I had nothing wrong with that. But they obviously didn't even know where they were applying. That was an issue. They didn't. People who do not answer the questions that we ask, like why this program, if it's very generic, that's kind of a deal breaker. During an interview, most students I have found are fairly good at interviewing, so I haven't really had a deal breaker too much. I guess not following directions. I've had people be late and get lost, and that's not a deal breaker, because we do our interviews at the VA, and if you've ever tried to park there and find your way around, I get lost half the time, so that doesn't bother me if they have a good reason or they've contacted us in advance. But I did have somebody who then complained about the parking situation, like, well, why would I want to come here? I won't ever be able to park. That would be kind of a deal breaker. So does that make sense? Like, yeah, like it wasn't her fault she was late. It was the VA's fault. Does that make sense? But for the most part, not doing the right kind of research and saying the wrong things about our program. Again, like Ashley said, talking about how much they want to get pediatric experience at the VA would be a deal breaker. Okay.
I can think of two examples. One, someone had submitted some reference letters that were not positive, and they may not know that through the system, but when they weren't matched one time, they didn't ask for feedback or change the reference letters, and they submitted those same unfavorable reference letters again. And so I guess I would say, if there's an option, just be really aware of what your references would say about you, and if they feel comfortable sharing it with you, or you feel comfortable asking for that feedback, because sometimes those letters are really telling where your strengths are, but also where your weaknesses are. So owning that. And that leads me into my second example. A couple times we've had interns apply in a way that may be appropriate for a work position in sense of confidence and knowledge, but it was almost like they already knew everything they'd ever need to know. And the purpose of an internship is that we all know we didn't. We still don't, but having that growth mindset, if someone were to come across like they could teach you everything, it just doesn't tend to represent a learning mindset and a readiness to grow. And that really doesn't usually translate into success as an intern.
All right, so my fourth question, what is one aspect of the program that you really feel truly separates you from the competition?
I'll start, and then I'll let Ashley brag about the VA, but I said this earlier, ASU is one of the oldest programs in the country to combine a master's degree with a dietetic internship. It has always been important to us. We consider our master's degree to be rigorous. We feel we produce excellent graduates who are now leaders throughout the Phoenix and Arizona dietetic community. Many of our graduates are now our preceptors, and we are very proud of that. Our interns get hired in good leadership positions and great jobs. So we're very successful at helping them with their careers. Again, I'm very proud of our coursework and our programs at ASU. Also, the internship directors, and that includes Ashley and the Prescott preceptors. We really care about the intern success. I would say that generally speaking, we get described in anonymous feedback later about how nice we are to work with and that we really care about them. We I think, go out of our way to try and make their experience as positive and personalized as we can. And then I've mentioned before about the VA hiring their own, and many applicants tell us their goal in their art dietetic career is to work for the VA, not just because the VA pays so well. I don't know if students are aware that the average salary for a VA dietitian is way above the national average, so the pay is great, but it's just a wonderful place to work that everybody tells me, and I'll let Ashley brag more about that.
I was just going to add on, I think the fact that you are with our either facility, you're with us for so long, doing so many rotations, we really consider you one of us. And I think that that interns tend to feel that way. Oftentimes when it's coming close to graduation, it almost feels like leaving a job, because we knew there was that end point, but it doesn't feel like there should be. And that's often why we try to hire them back and why we get them to stay. But I think in addition to all those competencies, I think you really get to feel like what it's like to be part of a team, part of an interdisciplinary team. What does working at the top of a scope look like, and how might that be your future if that's of interest to you? So I really think that that's unique. Even thinking back to my own internship experience, it's very different what we're able to provide. So hopefully that feels like a right fit for you.
Ashley, maybe you could say something about they get into the VA system, so they have more opportunities.
Sure. So anyone who does training within the VA as an intern is considered a federal employee, even if it's without compensation. So the idea would be that for the rest of your life, you are able to apply to any federal employment as an internal candidate, even if it was just your internship experience. And that's true at any VA internship, at any DoD internship. And so that's really a perk when you're thinking about all the jobs that are on USA Jobs. Oftentimes it'll say internal only. And so that is one of those opportunities. That experience follows you through your career, even if it was 30 years ago. So we do consider you one of us in that way as well.
And we have had interns who use that opportunity and that ability to apply internally to get jobs at VAs that were near their hometown or where they wanted to move. I mentioned a gentleman, a male intern recently who got a position at the Portland VA. He actually did his enrichment, his optional, his hand-selected rotation at the Portland VA, and it paid off for him, and that they hired him. So we do have people who are able to transfer easily out of state.
All right, we can move on to the last question of the 5, and this is a 2-part question. So the first part is, what are the 3 best adjectives, and these can be descriptors or phrases, that you feel really best describes the program overall?
Flexibility is a big one for us, in that we try to fit your interests into the program as we can. I think rigor, I feel proud of our I'm not going to say it's an easy program. I don't think it's horribly difficult. We have not ever had an intern not graduate on time with their master's degree, their research project, and their coursework. I'm not going to say everybody has finished. We have had a couple in the past that quit at the very start for personal reasons, just 2, I think, that I can recall. One, because her military husband was deployed and she had to move, but everybody who has started the program has finished on time. That's a strength as well.
I would definitely say comprehensive. You get just a little bit of everything. So in my mind, the internship is your opportunity to really be curious. Most of the times, one of the things Tina does at the beginning and the end is ask some questions about what do you think you want to do? And then we check in and remind them what they said, but see what they really end up wanting to do. And the messaging over the years has just been how they're so surprised at what they ended up liking, or that they like so many things. And so I just feel like this program, both in coursework and in internship opportunities, just gives you sort of this huge menu, like the Cheesecake Factory menu of choices in choosing your own adventure, make this yours. And then at the end of it, you've really drilled down to deal breakers, dream jobs. What would that look like for you? And we get to sort of coach you and help you along the way. So I feel like comprehensive is really a good word.
So the second half of the question, very similar, 3 adjectives, descriptors, or phrases to describe your ideal applicant.
Enthusiastic, So willing to learn. I remember she said the learning mindset, growth mindset, but open-minded to possibilities, in that she mentioned they don't think they're going to like food service, but they need to be open-minded about it, and they often end up loving it. Time management skills, being good with time management, because you are now a professional. You're almost like working at the VA, and there's expectations for timeliness, and obviously you're taking courses, and you have to manage your due dates and coursework, along with projects that you're doing at the internship and your rotation. Having said that, I didn't mention this earlier, but interns can work. We don't recommend you work full-time, but since you're taking part-time coursework and only 24 hours a week on average we do have interns who work 20 or more sometimes hours a week. So you can work part-time pretty easily during this program.
Professional curiosity. So just that communication component. One of the attributes we really focus on is how do you seek information or question what you're hearing in a way that helps you learn and is respectful of the preceptor. So we do a lot of coaching around that. But just communication in general is really important. Tina and I talk a lot about those drawn to this field are typically really good at what they do. You're probably coming from a lot of really good success and being good at time management, all these other things. And then you get thrown into the real world and sometimes the book doesn't apply. It's okay. But just being comfortable communicating with myself, with Tina, with preceptors, and just being open and honest with us if you're having struggles or what is or isn't working. So an adjective would just be that professional curiosity. Is this how it's supposed to be going? Am I doing something wrong? How can I do better?
All right, perfect. Well, that was all the questions that I had for you for this episode. So to close us out, I would love for each of you to give us a quick take-home message to potential applicants this year.
I want to encourage people, if you're graduating in December, this would be a perfect fit for you, in that you would start this program in January or February following your graduation. But we have lots of students who either did not match during the spring or did not apply the spring after when they were graduated in May, or graduated longer ago and maybe have been getting experience. Quite a lot of our applicants are already DTRs. They sat for the DTR exam and have some experience. Some are right out of school, but I want to encourage people to apply. We get many fewer applicants for our fall match program, and I know a lot of that is to do with, I think a lot of dietetic students don't think about applying in the fall. They think about spring match only, and I want to encourage them to apply in the fall. There are many fewer internships to choose from, but you have less competition typically. But I encourage people to apply. I think our students have loved this program, and I know they come back and they talk to at least ASU undergrads about it to try to encourage them to apply. So I can't guarantee that they will love it if they come, but I'm pretty sure they will.
I would just encourage you to investigate, listen to these podcasts, research programs, think about what's the right fit for you. What do you want at the end of it? I think our program is not just comprehensive, but really efficient at providing it. It's one of the few that you get a master's and an internship in 15 months, but without skimping on anything. So I definitely would say, give us some consideration. No matter when you graduate, why not do it in a really efficient timeline and get that great experience? And then I would welcome you to look at the VAs, if not ours, somewhere. It's such a great place to fit, and it's such a wonderful place to work.
Thank you to both of you for being on this episode with me. And for those at home who would like some more information on the program at Arizona State and the VA track, I provided that website link in the description below this video. And as always, don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you never miss an episode with another